And that is money on loan to you. It's debt money. It's not real, true money, representing some kind of tangible goods, which is the way our treasury system used to be based on. So the question is, what do we do? Now, that gets back to what May was talking about in terms of the strong local self-government. And what we're advocating as defenders, constitutional defenders, is that we do everything we can to localize everything we can amongst each other in terms of doing business. Just be clannish. Prefer anyone who follows the Republic. You follow the philosophy, you're on my good side, if you're a part of the Republic. So we all do that. We try to promote amongst ourselves the Republic as well in terms of other people. When I tell people that I speak with, like Ms. Montana, when I addressed those individuals up there, I said, all of you in this audience are defenders already. You're already Constitution defenders. You don't have to go any further than that. But if you take the coat of arms that we have and everything, what you're doing, you become a walking billboard of truth, and you're making a statement to bring more people in aware of what's going on, to create conversations. So we promote and advertise that you do everything you can to localize all of your commerce amongst each other if you are of the Republic. Don't worry about whether you buy a particular automobile or a particular TV or a particular item or VCR or whatever. Try your darndest to make it as local as possible. If it has to go national, that's fine too, as long as it's in the United States. But make sure it's of people who follow the Republic. Call them down on it. I've had actually 2 confrontations with Walmart. I've had a confrontation in Houston with Mail-in More and UPS for demanding state ID. State ID binds you into a contract with them because it's derived from the state. Why do we all central keep? We always vote efficient, so you start demanding state ID, and they use it, of course, as a way to regulate this immigration problem that we got. But anytime you demand state ID, I'm going to throw you a scenario out to you. Ready? Officer so-and-so, I got somebody who's demanding state ID from me. I'm standing in front of my house, okay? And this officer's coming up here, and he wants to enter my home. And he's demanding ID. Officer so-and-so, if I was to have this contractual, statutory, legal instrument that you're referring to, could you use it against me, yes or no? But what have I done with that statement? I got an officer coming up to me. Or I could be walking out of a store in downtown Chattanooga, and I have an officer come up and says, state ID, please. And that happens. Do y'all know that? It's happening across the United States right now. And I know it because I have personally experienced it. All right. If I was to have this contractual, statutory, legal instrument, could you use it against me, yes or no? Does anyone recognize Article 5 of the Constitution? I've just presented it in an argument in setting up my court case before I ever end up in court, to null and void any possible attack they could use. I have used Article 5 to say, sir, are you demanding that I supply you a contractual statutory instrument that can be used against me in a court of law? Did I lose everybody?
No, I see what you're doing.
You see it?
Yeah.
You see the argument?
Yeah.
You are not mandated to supply anything that can be used against you in a court of law from any public servant. It's called Article 5, and it's called also Article 4 because it contains pertinent personal information of your life, and that's invasion of your privacy. That's invasion of Article 4. So not only does it invade Article 4 and Article 5, but guess what? Article 6 mandates that all laws must be in pursuance thereof, and all judges and legislators must be bound by it. Paraphrase. Well, that's the violation of Article 6 as well. And guess what else it does? It violates Article 13. There can be no forced servitude. No forced contract. Gosh, that's a lot of violations, isn't it? Over something as simple as that. So this is very serious, folks. All across the country, people are getting accosted. I can't tell you the reports about people who will just be standing on the side of the road and the cop goes up, give me your ID. And if they don't present it, it's off to the jail. I had that same confrontation myself in downtown Chattanooga about 9-10 months ago. No evidence. About 14 months ago. And where the ladies come up to us, says state ID, please. Have y'all not had that happen to you yet? Good. I'm glad. But it has me, and it has had, and since I'm in the Defender, since I have started this organization, I'm getting more and more reports because they're calling me up. Where used to, I didn't get the woes of the people across the country. It was always about me. Now it's about everybody else. So I'm gathering perspectives based on being in this position that I didn't fully have before. So, what do we do about this? This is all I carry right here. This is not just about being on the side of the road. And people say, well, you can't have anarchy. You can't have the fact that, gosh, we got to have driver's license. Do you know that nobody had a driver's license up to 1913? 1913 in New York City, which was a chauffeur's license. It was a commercial entity, not a private one. 1910, excuse me, I told you wrong. 1910, it was a commercial entity, and it was New Jersey. 1913, New Jersey was the first one to come up with what's called a private driver's license. But did you know that in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, that under what it defines as a driver is a commercial entity, but what if you're a traveler? What if you are a traveler operating an automobile, not a motor vehicle? Big difference. You got to remember, the law is there are real sticklers about particular definitions in words and what they mean. Everything has a precise meaning in law, in statutory law. So, I have battled this, and you can fight it from a statutory point of view, or you can fight it from a constitutional point of view, because the two worlds are separated. But they like to keep them muddy. They talk about, for instance, here on mainstream media, you hear about civil rights versus, you hear about rights or civil rights. Well, did you know civil rights are not rights? That's a lie. The only rights, as you said, is endowed by the Creator. That is the only rights in the republic for which it stands. And if you get into civil rights, what y'all are talking about now is contractual rights. Man giveth, man can taketh away. If God giveth, man cannot taketh away. And those arguments are absolutely sound. Now, another problem we're running into in America today, with the problems we're having as far as our Constitution and having respect for our Constitution, is they work on the premise you don't have any rights except civil rights. They call anything that they give you an issue as a law, they call it a right. Such slander to what truly is the definition of what right is. And an insult to our forefathers and the Declaration of Independence and what it originally stood for. So we've got to sort all this out. We have to have precise ways of dealing with it, and we deal with it in groups and numbers operating the same way. One of us doing it, they can give you all kinds of trouble. But many of you doing it is far more difficult. Operating internally in this self-governed, strong local communities. What do you think? If I made this presentation very clear, is there any questions in terms of what I'm trying to say? And does it make sense?
So what do you suggest? I refuse to sign anything medical. I write reservation of rights, and
all rights reserved.
And because the UCC code 201 says that you can sign documents, but if you preface it with reservation of rights, that you're just signing this so you can exercise your right, but you're not committing or giving up any of your rights. It's basically what it says, and that's a commercial code law.
True.
And it completely confuses them at the hospitals and the EMTs and all that kind of crap. And then they asked me for an ID. I said, I don't carry an ID. And then the girl goes spastic. She picks up the phone.
You're liable to have police calling you and the FBI to come pay you a visit.
Well, they never have.
Good.
It's that they usually talk to somebody and they say, okay, and they write something on the card. They said, this will be your registration number in the hospital, or when you go get your x-ray, or when you go have this test done. And I talked to them there about it, and they say, yes, we get a lot of people that refuse to show an ID, refuse to sign any of these give up my rights things, but we have a routine we have to go through.
I know, and the more people that refuse, the stronger y'all become.
Yeah.
But it requires some guts, some intestinal fortitude is what it requires.
What do? You don't have a driver's license.
I carry no identification except by defender identification.
What is that?
What is that?
It's the official symbol that's carried on my back. And it's to tell the world that we are of the republic for which it stands. Period. And I use this to go many places, and anybody, any company, I can go over to Mike Scalia and get shoes, and when I flash this, they're perfectly happy with that. I can go over to the deli
And you'll get a discount. And you'll get a
and I
discount.
get a discount. Same thing. I mean, we have a
Defenders,
company who sells
defender
in
businesses give
Montana.
discounts to defenders.
Yeah. We have a company who sells in Montana that sells candles. Well, we've had people from Tennessee buy their candles out of Montana because they're of the republic for which it stands. I'm very biased toward the republic. I admit it. I have made no bones about it. I think that's what we should do because I want to have it back. I like the republic for which it stands.
Does that even have your name on?
Yes, I put the information.
I've got one as well, and that's all I carry. I don't have my driver's license. I ground up my gun permit and my driver's license in my sander at the shoe shop, and this is my gun permit and my driver's license right there.
Well, it starts off like this. Officer so-and-so, if I was to have this contractual statutory legal instrument, could you use it against me, yes or no? Sir, would you repeat that? And I repeat it twice, every time, okay? Then I say it slow the second time. Sir, he said, well, regulation such and such, code such and such. I said, sir, did you not swear an oath to the Constitution so help me God, yes or no? Now, sir, are you trying to bind me to any kind of contractual relationship with the organization or entity that you represent? Sir, is that entity, or is that organization you represent, is it incorporated, yes or no? Sir, have you read Article 6, Paragraph 2, Paragraph 3, and I go on with that. We go round and round. It depends on each personality I'm dealing with. I said, sir, you're going to have, you got kids, haven't you? Oh, yeah, of course. Well, if you've got kids, what kind of America do you want them to live in? I've just quoted you Article 5 of the Constitution. It mandates I don't supply you anything that can be used against me in the court of law, and yet you're demanding it from me. I thought you support the Constitution. Do you not? Do you realize under the Declaration of Independence, under the third paragraph, fourth line down, it says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men? What'd you say, sir? I said, it said to secure these rights, or that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. I said, do you realize what I'm telling you, Officer so-and-so? I'm saying you have been contracted by this organization, by the consent of the government, to protect and secure our rights. It said to secure our rights, governments are instituted among men. That is your job function, sir. Now, I've just quoted you Article 5. Do you not know the Constitution well enough to understand what that quote was and what it meant? It mandates I don't have to supply you anything to be used against me in a court of law. And therefore, it's exactly what you're doing, and you're supposed to protect it based on your oath. Now, which master do you serve, sir? Do you serve the Constitution?
What did they do at that point?
By that time, they throw up their hands.
Well,
Let's just cut to the chase. Do you get a ticket or not?
no. And it's not because I'm right. It's never about because I'm right. It's because, gosh, this guy is going to be a bunch of trouble in court. That's the reason. I'm not going to go there. There's another victim right down the road here, and I'm going to go get him. I'm not worth their aggravation. They say, I'm not going to put up with this, you know. And they say, have a nice day, sir. Or sometimes they even ask for a pamphlet, because I keep them, I keep all that stuff where they can see it. Make sure they can see it. I want them to see it. I want them to know it's just not, I'm not by myself. There's a lot of us. Don't ever tell anybody how many. That way, there's a little bit of intimidation. I don't like that. But there's a little bit of intimidation.
They use
There's
it.
confusion. Huh?
They use the intimidation.
Oh, yes, big time. But I don't want to be a negative human being. I'm trying to live free, as a free human being. I don't get permission to get married. Not going to. I don't get permission to travel. I don't get permission to start a business. I declare it. I challenge anybody in this room to go back in history and find out and talk and read the history books and tell me where anybody got permission to do anything. As long as they did not deprive anyone of their life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness. As long as they didn't destroy property, there was no crime. You could not make paper a crime. And now what they do, they make the lack of paper a crime. Does anybody here remember the 1930s? Hitler? Give us your papers? You didn't have your papers? What happened to you? What do you think we're coming down to? Do you know I'm already hearing through the underground that we're going to have papers? We're going to have our state ID, our national ID, they're going to call it, to go across state lines? That they're going to block the freeways eventually? This is what's coming?
Spike, I'm gonna have.
Okay, it's 10 minutes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's more
Okay,
than 10
I get
minutes.
wound up, folks.
We've all enjoyed you very much, and that's the reason why I've let you go over.
You come back sometime, we give you more time.
Okay, appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Scott, very much.